as you were glorifying Giriraj Maharaj, Prabhupada wrote and said we would like to start life membership program. And we were in Delhi. And I said to Giriraj, let me do the talking. And Mr. Dalmia and Lokesh Chandra MP, who introduced us to Indira Gandhi, became life members. But when I came here, I saw that really Giriraj was so good at that. He would charm people and preach. In Vrindavan, some of the Maharajas wanted me to go on with them traveling, but I felt so wonderful in Vrindavan, so I put it before Prabhupada. I like to preach and I'd like to go with the Maharajas, but I feel so good in Vrindavan. I like to preach and I feel good in Vrindavan. What should I do, Prabhupada? Should I go with them? He said, no, it is important you stay in Vrindavan. But he said, then you can preach to the devotees. A realization, not to take each other for granted. Now we've joined and we're giving our lives for Krishna in so many ways. We must nourish each other, preach to each other, das anudas, want each other's success. That's a fabric of this movement. And when we do it right, it works. So now, there was this District Inspector General of the railway. So we were honing our abilities to make life members. And so there was one guy, the District Inspector General's brother, Shamashunda will remember him, Malati will remember him. He was sort of pugly. He was not of the world, but not in a great spiritual way. And he loved Saraswati. He loved Saraswati. And his house was in the Home and Garden magazine. But his brother was this District Inspector General of the railway, and he'd get me on the railway anytime. Later on, I'll tell the story about at the Kumbh Mela, we ran out of money, and he put an ex-Maharaja's car. We didn't have email and fax and all that. We put the ex-Maharaja's car on the back of the train that came to Bombay. I got the Lakshmi from Prabhupada for the Kumbh Mela and put the Maharaja's car on the back going back to Prayag. So, but this guy, to try and induce him to become a life member, he was just too crazy. So we would send people to him because he didn't care, and it was sort of like we were trying to figure out how to become, attract people to become life members. 1,111 rupees, and you can travel to any temple in the world and stay there, and all of the books for life. What a deal! So Giriraj and I end up, I don't know how, I don't have to know how, because Krishna is such a great adventurer and he does it better than me, so it's somehow or other we ended up in Mr. Nair's office. early. But this is when they were starting to negotiate and all of that was going on. So he was totally arrogant as we came. Why do I have to read those books? I'm Krishna. Well, you probably know the story of our great-great-grandfather, Bhakti Thakur, when the mystic city was impersonating Vishnu. And Bhakti Thakur put him in jail, and he got sick, and his family got sick, and Bhakti Thakur, like you were saying before, Prabhupada really does not like impersonalism because it neglects Krishna. So many reasons. I saw him at the Gita conference blast the whole conference that you're not honoring the singer of the song. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur persevered, and eventually he got some people to cut the hair of the mystic city who was impersonating Vishnu, and then he got better, his family got better, the impersonator lost his powers. So it's just an intrinsic thing for us devotees, not only philosophically, but when somebody has the audacity to say they're Krishna. So Giriraj was there. I would really love to hear his version of this. I immediately said, "Do you have 16,108 wives?" He said, "I could." "And you could support them all?" Well, by this time he's jumping up on his seat and saying, "I'm Krishna, I'm Krishna." So Chaitya Guru told me to do this, and I've made many mistakes in my life, and I don't know if this was a mistake, but whenever I follow Chaitya Guru, it really does work. So I don't think it was a mistake, but he had a glass paperweight. You know, the paperweights on the desk with the design, and he had a glass-top desk. So he's ranting and raving, "I'm Krishna." Giriraj doesn't know what to do. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I take the paperweight and dropped it on his desk, and it goes, it didn't crack it, but it stopped him. So I thought, after all these years, that really didn't help the public relations of this whole event we are celebrating today. However, I also realized that one act did not make Mr. Nair a demon. So if someone acts demonic, then it's all right to pray to Lord Nrsimha, because he was causing so much difficulty to all of us when we're just trying to give to the world. And this is happening all over. We've seen it in London, we've seen it in Vrindavan, similar experiences. And so we go on, and Prabhupada is the ringmaster. And so here in Bombay, it was very nice because we lived with a Mr. Lalan. It was a house that was surrounded by a rainforest. And Prabhupada would live with us, and I would peek in the door. I was sometimes his door assistant, his chowkidar. We had a chowkidar in Vrindavan from Radhashama Shinda Temple. He said, I'm a cook, but I'm a chowkidar. And I said, okay, we'll try you out. So then, I'm going to get back to the story, the other story. So then, the chowkidar, who was a cook, I go there in the middle of the night and he's sleeping. So I nudge him, Maharaj, where's your stick? Where's your danda? Oh, I hid it because the dacoits might come and beat me with it. Okay, now you're a cook again. He went into the kitchen. Somebody asked Prabhupada, because there was a whole village of thieves right down the road. So someone asked Prabhupada, can we shoot? Can we get a gun? And I'm always like, how is Prabhupada going to be the manifestation of the Shastras again in this adventurous, open-minded spirit that attracted us all to do this for 50 years? What's he going to do? He says, yes, you can get a gun to the person because, he said, shoot over their heads, but don't shoot at them. And then he told the story of Narada Muni having a disciple who was a snake, and the snake became a devotee, and now he was meek, a cobra. And Prabhupada's telling the story. And I ask you all, how did this snake put his tilak on? Das anudas, he had other snakes or devotees put it on for him. So, now I'm a snake and I'm meek, and the children are now throwing rocks at me and calling me names. What should I do? So Prabhupada's telling the story. He says, you're a Vaishnava, but you're also a snake, a serpent. So use this nature. And he said, raise your hoods. And then Prabhupada did this great imitation of a cobra, like that with his eyes. Raise your hoods, but don't bite. So yes, you can get a gun. So now we're here and we're living with Prabhupada. And he was always so instructive. This Mr. Kartikeya, what was his name? Mahadevya. They were on the beach, and he said, I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid for my family. And Prabhupada said, then you're still not afraid. You're still afraid. Because Prabhupada wasn't afraid. I'm going to tell one more story, and then I'm going to show how Prabhupada wasn't afraid of death. Apocharan. Fearless because he's taken shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. This will take less. So, yeah. So now a group of Mayavadis come in to visit Prabhupada. And they were taught from Masvi, and they were just spewing their impersonalism. And they all had these booklets. And Prabhupada's books were piled up in the corner. And their books were like... So then they left. And so Prabhupada gave us each one of the books. So I'm wondering, does Prabhupada want me to read this book? I Am One with God. And then Prabhupada took out, he loved Bombay Chavda. You know, the Bombay mix of chickpea and coconut and peanuts and everything like that. It's a special mix. When one day I was peeking in the keyhole and Prabhupada was eating it without touching his lips. And so now we had these books, and Prabhupada gave us some of this Bombay Chavda, and he used the books as plates. During the India-Pakistani war, we're in Delhi, and Delhi everybody was going around, they were fearful, and they were blinking, covering the lights, the windows at night, because they were afraid that the Pakistani Air Force would see the lights and bomb. I was afraid they would miss Delhi and hit Vrindavan, because they were very incompetent. They never even reached near Delhi, and Prabhupada knew this, so he didn't cover the windows. All of Delhi's covering the windows, and Prabhupada didn't. We're living in a dharamshala, and they say, Swamiji, an ad hoc committee comes, Swamiji, why aren't you covering these windows? You are not the controller. You cannot control your stomach ache, your toothache. You're not the controller. If Krishna wants to kill you, you cannot save. And if Krishna wants to save you, you cannot do anything about it. They said, but Swamiji, and I was standing up because I made sure everybody had prasadam, and I was standing up, we were a team. They said, but Swamiji, what if the bomb should come? And Prabhupada looked up and he said, then I would see the bomb as Krishna. All glories to
We had an altar before even Lord Jagannath came. So in a non-self-conscious way, in a way that was very open-minded, Prabhupada, Swamiji at the time, didn't tell us about Vyasa-san, didn't make us cut our hair, didn't say anything about bowing down. And he just accepted things as they are and accepted us. And he could have gone for any segment of society, Vivekananda, whatever, try to speak to large groups. Krishna sent us, enthusiastic, young, believing we could do anything. In some ways it was good because already being adventurous or already not being too staid in the lifestyle, we were able to go along and do anything as an adventure. And that's what happened. Anyway, we followed him to the ends of the earth. So the totem pole, there was an artist who came from New York. There was a New York contingent that slowly came to San Francisco. And there was Haridas, Harvey Cohn. He came in a Cadillac, an old Cadillac. We called it the Krishna Lac. It was our car. And so he still did his art, and for some reason, he put a totem pole right by the temple altar in Frederick Street. Here's the altar. And there was a painting of the Panchatattva that he eventually put there, and the totem pole was there with hooked noses and wings and masks and moons, and Prabhupada just accepted it. There was eclectic pictures. Lord Jesus was in the temple. Prabhupada said, Lord Jesus is very nice. And so the totem pole was just part of the temple, and he didn't really tell us to do too much, except very directly. Cooking he taught. Cooking he taught Jamuna and Harsharani, Govinda Dasi. I don't know if she told you about the starvation committee, that he called her the starvation. Well, she chose to perhaps leave that out, but when he was sick at one time, she had a special diet that the doctors told to give him, and Prabhupada wanted stuffed portal or something like that, and he called her the starvation committee. Then Haridas decided to paint the Panchatattva, but for some reason he thought they were women. It was very different then. And so they were in Hawaii or something, and so he painted them with breasts, the Panchatattva. And so when Prabhupada came in and the new painting was unveiled over the new altar, the eclectic altar, Prabhupada he actually said, at Haridas, and said, those are men, not women, and so please change it. So he changed it. So it was really quite open in the beginning, and it's really an amazing thing how Prabhupada was so patient, and he just introduced things very slowly. I would photograph a lot, so sometimes he would tease me and he'd say, why are you photographing me so much? Photograph something important like people chanting. And actually in San Francisco he teased me again. He said I was photographing a lot. I should have had one of those motorized drives or something. But I was just photographing. But it's because his mood changed so purely.
Hare Krishna dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for joining here, glorifying Srila Prabhupada's disciple. Let's begin with a small prayer. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So dear devotees, I am honored to be here to speak little bit about His Grace Gurudas Prabhu, one of the earliest disciples of the Divine Grace Swami Srila Prabhupada. So here we are going to begin. Let me just share the screen. Give me a second. So we know that how Srila Prabhupada landed to America and had the first temple in New York, and there he got a couple of devotees, especially Mukund Prabhu, Janki Mataji, and later on he sent them to San Francisco to establish the temple over there, to start preaching over there. And there, and the devotees from San Francisco, they made this um, young devotee, young fellow who later became Gurudas Prabhu, and later on married with Yamuna Mataji, the famous cook. We know. Let me share the screen and then we'll begin. Yeah, is it visible, Prabhu? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, so Prabhupada always used to call Gurudas Prabhu as ambassador of goodwill because of his wonderful goodwill making. We'll just see slide will slide. So early life. So Gurudas Prabhu was born in United States, professionally trained as photographer and filmmaker. We saw in the video also how he was telling, like Prabhupada was told that why you are taking so many photos. And still, Prabhu's photos are being used everywhere. And the early photos, what he took, so many photos. So he was very artistic and expressive, having expressive nature, yet spiritually inquisitive. And therefore, when he came in touch of devotees, immediately he became devotee. So he encountered Srila Prabhupada's teaching in the mid 1960s, quickly surrendered to the mission. So basically, he made devotees in San Francisco, and San Francisco means probably 1967 or 68, something like that. So there he became devotee, and then he is the close associate of Srila Prabhupada still there. So among the first disciple to receive personal instruction and service duties from Srila Prabhupada, many instructions he received. We see that after San Francisco, Prabhupada sent devotees to Montreal, and then we read in Lilamrit that Prabhupada sent to London also. So the three couples who went to London, Gurudas Prabhu and Yamuna Mataji were there. So like that, so many instructions. So, and he was one of the first disciples, American disciples coming to India. Prabhupada brought a party, World Sankirtan party to India, just to show Indians that how Krishna consciousness is being welcomed in America, in the Western countries. And because Prabhupada had this idea that if Indians will see that America is accepting Krishna consciousness, then they will also accept. So he brought this party, and we know that when Prabhupada got them into Surat city, then he got huge success. And in fact, Prabhupada used to call the devotees as white elephants because they were dancing, jumping, and doing kirtan. So interesting to Indians. Deeply trusted by Srila Prabhupada for both management and preaching tasks. Yeah. So that's why we see that later on, Prabhupada gave him a big project, Vrindavan project. This is Kon Vrindavan, what we see. Initially, the land was, taken, or the service was given to Gurudas Prabhu for, getting the land and then starting this project of Vrindavan temple. So it was a big project Prabhupada wanted, because we see that Prabhupada says that Vrindavan is my home, Bombay is my office, and Mayapur is the place of worship. So Prabhupada had spent a lot of time in Vrindavan. He had great desire that temple should be established over there, and this big project, special project, was given to Das Prabhu to begin the construction, and later on he became the president also there. So yes, often photographed Prabhupada, and many iconic images are credited to him, what we use. So this is very important. This is whatever skills we have, we should use in Krishna consciousness. Prabhu used. So yeah, we discussed this thing, how Vrindavan temple project was taken care by Gurudas Prabhu. Let us see the devotional qualities known for his enthusiasm, sincerity, and heartfelt devotion. So we find in Avacharan how the devotees went to London, and then they met George Harrison. Yeah. So of course Ram Sundar Prabhu was the first one who met George Harrison. But at the same time, Gurudas Prabhu and Yamuna Mataji, they also had a big contribution, convincing George Harrison and then bringing different albums. Yeah. And what we hear in the morning, Govindam Adipursam, that is a big achievement done by this couple. So possessed a unique mix of spiritual gravity and then artistic charm, always sought to please Srila Prabhupada through practical services and creative expression. So we can see that, unless and until one has a great desire to please or serve, one cannot, take such a risk to going to different country without so much of money. So you know the history how the three couples went to London. They did not have much money. So one couple went there and they sent money back. Then the second couple went there. Then the third couple went there. And how Prabhupada sent them? Prabhupada actually taught them how to play kartal and then sent them. You go and preach. No so much of training like this today we do so much of training and then we start preaching. But Prabhupada just and they had so much faith in Prabhupada that they did miracles. What so many devotees earlier in the God Press of Srila Prabhupada, they also came to London but could not achieve so much. But these couples, these disciples of Srila Prabhupada who went to London, they had so much of faith in Srila Prabhupada that they did wonders. So deeply compassionate and encouraging to devotees of all backgrounds. Yeah. So preaching and global service. He preached widely across the USA, UK, and India. He came to India, we know. UK also went there, we discussed, and USA always was there. So in the beginning of Krishna conscious movement, Prabhu played a big role, leading role, especially establishing Krishna consciousness in UK and meeting with Beatles and George Harrison and helped organize major events, programs that spread the bhakti to the masses. So photography and writing. So Prabhu captured historical moments of ISKCON through photography. Often traveling with Prabhupada, we find many pictures like, Prabhu is behind Prabhupada, and traveling. So Prabhu has authored a book by his example. Yeah. So we can read that. And so book is praised for its honesty, affection, insight into the early ISKCON movement. So it's very interesting. Right now, we don't know like how much hardships they did. But when we go through these books, then we understand, yes, we are doing nothing. So Prabhu used his artistic talents always in the service of Guru and Gauranga. Yeah. Legacy and reflections. Continues to inspire through his photos, stories, and deep affection for Srila Prabhupada. His contributions are fundamental to ISKCON's history, a genuine example of how one can serve through action, art, and heart. His life is a reminder that loving surrender to Guru's mission yields eternal impact. So this way we see uh, that although they were together, husband and wife, but they had one deep desire that we have to please Srila Prabhupada. We have to please Srila Prabhupada. And that's how they were able to do so much. Yeah. So let's hear something which is very important. How what important memory Prabhu has for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Swamiji at that time did not tell us about the Vyasasana. He did not make us cut out hair. He did not say anything about bowing down. He just accepted things as they were. He accepted us. Krishna had sent us, enthusiastic, young, and believing we could do anything. We were adventurous and not too stayed in any lifestyle. We were able to go along with and do anything. And that's what happened. A New York contingent slowly came to San Francisco. Among them there was an artist Haridas Harvey Cohen who came in an old Cadillac. We called it the Krishna lag. For some reason, Haridas put a totem pole with noses, rings, masks, and moons right by the temple altar in the Frederick Street. Prabhupada just accepted it, along with the eclectic pictures of Lord Jesus, and so on. Prabhupada did not tell us to do too much, but he did teach Yamuna, Harsarani, and Govindadasi how to cook. Once when Prabhupada was sick, the doctors told Govindadasi to give Prabhupada a special diet. Prabhupada called them the starvation committee. He wanted his standard diet instead. So this is one memory. Let's read one more. Prabhupada liked how Saraswati, Malti, and Swam Sundar's 4-year-old daughter helped encourage everyone to chant during Kirtan. Later on, he gave her a small deity of Krishna. Saraswati became quite attached to her deity, and one day Prabhupada hid her deity behind his back. Saraswati was looking. Where is Krishna? Prabhupada also encouraged her. Where is Krishna? Saraswati became anxious. Where is Krishna? Where is he? When Prabhupada returned the deity to her, he pointed out how separation from Krishna can increase our awareness of him and love for him. So this way we hear, the personal memories. So many memories are there we can hear. And just a couple of days back, one of my friends in ISKCON Boston, he said that Prabhu is giving Bhagavatam class. So even at this age, you can see Prabhupada disciples so much enthusiasm that they are trying to give out Krishna consciousness. So thank you so much. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. His Gurudas Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.